Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have on Denise, and she is here to tell us a story today, too.
My story is how I found dance. I got a job when I was 15, my first job. And when I realized that I had some money and that I was able to invest it into something I would hopefully enjoy. The only hobby that I really knew about at that time that was in my world was ballet. When I was in Trinidad, I took ballet. My parents put me in ballet. And so when we moved to Oakville, I thought, well, now that I'm working, let me just go in and find a ballet class and just plop myself in there, not realizing the level of experience you would need at the age of 16 to even just go into a ballet class.
Mm-hmm.
There's auditions and there's, you had to prove yourself. So at the time of registration, I went in and I said, I'm here for registration for ballet. And the director looked at me and she said, oh, no. She said, that's not how our programs work, but I can offer you Latin dance classes. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the only offering, then I'll go in. And she said, you might end up liking it, especially if you have a background in ballet. You might have some transferable skills. So I took my first salsa class when I was 16 with a lot of grown-ups because there was no teen program or anything like that. And that's where I met my coach, my dance coach. And that was it. The rest was just it just kind of opened my eyes into this whole world of Latin dancing, social dancing, the social dance scene, dance families, everything. And I saw my coach and I watched her life and how she was able to live her passion and surround herself with so many warm and loving people. And I thought, that's kind of what I want for my life. So she took me under her wing and she showed me everything. She let me work at her studio so that I could afford more dance classes, took me into performance. And then when I was ready, she's the one that got me certified so that I can start teaching ballroom. And then she semi-retired and she moved out to Barrie. So she gave me her client list in Oakville, which was very generous of her. And I created a studio there. Then COVID hit and had to close the studio. Decided to move to Windsor. And I realized that, I think I'm ready to open up again. So opened up a studio here. And that's it. Then the rest is history. Here we are.
So when you were working with your coach and you started to learn dance, did you know you wanted to do it competitively or professionally, or were you just kind of having fun at the time?
I knew that in some capacity I wanted her life. And I asked her what the routes were. And she was really open with sharing with me what it meant to go down a competitive route, what it meant to go down a performance route, a teaching route. And she really laid out the groundwork for each path. One thing was just really clear was that I needed to really stay honed in on my values and not get pulled away. Obviously, I was very young, a teenager, and then into my 20s. So she really emphasized the fact that, people want to work with someone that they can trust, that they can admire, that has good values, good morals. So to never really try to always try to stay down that path and not get mixed up into things that I shouldn't be getting mixed up into. Maybe it was her way of keeping me grounded, keeping me good, but it worked because through university I continued to dance and learn and train and study. And watching her, I realized that I wanted to teach more than anything else. I saw the longevity in that career as opposed to just competitive or just performance. So I chose the teaching route.
That's awesome that she was such a good mentor to you. I think that's so rare to find.
She is my dance mom. She's what got me to this point in my career. Obviously, I have another coach now, but Deb, my original coach, was the one that really just paved all that foundation for me. I still talk to her to this day. I still check in with her, and vice versa. My dance family that I met through her, we're all still friends. So she really did create a legacy for herself that went so far beyond just the studio and just like the dance floor. And that's something I've always wanted to emulate in what I have. But absolutely, like my whole life really has been shaped around this one woman.
That's incredible. I do think that you are following in her footsteps, creating this gorgeous, inclusive community.
Yeah, my overall mission, my overall goal is always to create a safe space. My dance studio, Deb's studio, in Mississauga, it was a refuge. Like, we would literally just go there to just decompress. And we may not have had a class or a rehearsal or anything of that nature, but you just knew that if she was there running classes, that you could just come in, sit in her little nook and just vibe out. And she didn't ask questions. She didn't put pressure on you to do anything, or she just didn't expect you to show up in any other way than yourself. And again, I saw the value and what that meant to me. So I wanted to make sure that I gave that back to my community when I started to grow the community here. And thank goodness that's what's happening, is people will show up and then they'll stay. And they'll stay to just hang out. And 2-3 hours will go by and you're like, oh, you're still here. And that's okay. And I'm really glad that you're here. And whether that's to study or to just catch up with friends or to just lay on the couch, no questions are asked. You're just allowed to be whatever it is you need to be.
So can you describe the vision that you have for the Art of Dance Studio?
Well, the main vision for me was simply to create a safe space. And so obviously I would like to grow the physical space into maybe a third room, or I've thought about having a secondary location. But I think the underlying, the overall goal for me is to create a legacy like Deb has created for us, so that someone else can continue to do that. Because I think it's so important in the dance community at large globally that students, teachers too, that everybody feels like they have a space that they can go to that's truly, truly accepting, loving, and non-judgmental, very inclusive. And the only way to make sure that that continues to happen is to leave such a legacy. And it's hard work, but it's so rewarding. And I think it's very important, especially as a mom. I want my son to understand that whatever his space ends up being, it doesn't have to be a dance studio, but whatever his chosen space is outside of his home, that he is entitled to find that for himself. And that's only going to happen with examples like her studio and now thankfully like ours. So that's the overarching goal for me, is to maintain this so that it becomes a legacy.
I don't know if you have experience with other studios. Do you find that they are generally inclusive, or is there more of a air of competition in other studios?
I was lucky. My studio was not one of competition. We really didn't have any sort of, yes, there was, people date and different things happen, right? But it never caused any sort of uproar, or there was never competition between performers, and it was so supportive, so loving. And so that's my experience with dance studios. I've heard though from other students who have attended other studios that yes, that they've faced judgment for who they choose to love or who they choose to date, that they've, felt some competitive and maybe some ego clashing between performers. That was never my experience. So to me, when I hear it, I can appreciate that may be somewhat of a norm, but it's definitely not. That was never my norm. And so thankfully, because it wasn't my norm, it's not the norm at Art of Dance. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Are you considering any more performances? When did you stop performing?
When did I stop? Oh my gosh. I think my last performance was 2015. And that was when I was about 2 years into my personal studio in Oakville. And it was great and everything went really well and it was wonderful. And then I became a mom. And so all the performing stopped. I was still teaching. I was still getting other people ready for their own things. But me personally, I took a hard stop. Physically, pregnancy was demanding. Physically, motherhood was demanding. So I really wanted to give my body a lot of time. And then off of performing, I just, you start to get in your head a little bit about, oh, do I still have it? Is that still something I want to do? I love getting other people ready and putting them and letting them shine, putting them in the spotlight. But yes, we got back into performing and here I am, a performer again. It's been really fun. I think having the group that we have, it's been so supportive, so loving, so encouraging that there's no ego, there's no competition. And so when we get on stage, we really just build each other up and just there's a good vibe, a good energy. So yes, we're going to be launching a ladies bachata team. That'll probably happen in the fall. And we're also going to be probably performing at the Canada Salsa and Bachata Congress in 2026, which is going to be super exciting. That could be a few of our teams, but definitely our Shines team and then the ladies bachata team will likely perform at that Congress. So yeah, there's more to come.
I've never been to that Congress. Is it like international?
So it is international in the sense that people come from all over the world to attend this, and artists come from all over the world. They're brought in from Spain, from Paris, you name it. There's probably been an artist that's come from that country. I've been going to this Congress for, this will be my 14th year. Okay. Yeah, so this is the one Congress I attend to make sure that I'm the best at what I do as a teacher. Also, when I was growing up as a student, it was just so inspiring. And now that I feel like I've, reached a level in my career, I'm excited to now showcase that to our performers and give them the opportunity to get on that stage. It's one of the biggest stages in Canada. And, this is going to be a big milestone, I think, for the studio. And I think for the Windsor dance community in general, just to know that dancers from Windsor still, they have every right to be on a stage of that caliber. They've worked really hard and they deserve that. So, but yes, it is an international, and it's one of the biggest in Canada, but definitely an international draw comes through. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you teach dance and you dance a lot yourself. Who is Denise when she's not dancing?
She's dying. Ooh, when I'm not dancing, well, I'm a mama. So first and foremost, I'm a mom in the studio too, but at the same time, when I'm home, and my son is with me, we really try to just be around each other, be present with each other. So that's the first and foremost is that, I love hanging out with my son and regaining our connection when he's back with me. Obviously, I'm a dog mom too, so, got to give him all the snuggles. I'm still an artist, and I've realized that over the last, I'd say 5, maybe 7 years, is that even when I'm not in the studio, I still need to somehow do something creative. Mm-hmm. So whether that's paint by number, so I always do the by number so that I just zone out. Mm-hmm. But it is still creating. So it's still on the path to creating something. I found that even when I have some downtime, that's my preferred way to just decompress and just to keep the creative juices flowing. As an entrepreneur, I can fill any time with something to do with work. Mm-hmm. There's always back end stuff at the studio that I could be doing, need to be doing. But there are days where I know that I have to shut off, and that's probably the best way to do it.
How do you know when you need to start turning off and bringing it back? Because as an entrepreneur, the hustle is celebrated and the rest really isn't. But without the rest, you can't hustle.
It's so true. I'm still learning. I haven't perfected that balance yet. And on top of that, as an entrepreneur, the hustle doesn't always feel stressful. Some of it does, but some of it's but I just love doing it. So I'm just going to keep doing it, right? And that will then justify you just continuing on. And all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock at night and you've worked since 8 a.m. I've learned the hard way that then you get sick, you get snappy, you get anxious, you get overwhelmed, all of those feelings pop up. So I'm learning, but it's a learning process. I'm not perfect at it by any means. I'm so grateful to like Laura and Yana, because those two really have helped me take breaks. So Laura now handling a lot of our admin, and Yana in support. It's been night and day, honestly, the last 3 to 4 months, and it's just allowed me to have those days where if I have a migraine or if I am not feeling well, that I can say, can you guys handle this stuff or take this on, divide and conquer. And that's been truly supportive. And it's allowed me to not get as depleted as fast.
I don't know if it is actually undervalued, but sometimes people don't appreciate the people around them, when to me, that's really all life is. It's just the people around you and the experiences you have with them.
1,000%. I always tell the team, like, without the love and the trust, I think the trust more than anything of the community, we don't have community. And if we don't have community, then what are we doing? Just teaching people how to move feet, right? And their bodies, right? What makes this work, what makes the dance community work, is the community. And if you're not going to invest in those people, and it has to be authentic too. You can't just, pretend like you care about these people. You truly will want to take care of them, because they give back so much, right? The community gives back so much, and you want them to be okay. And again, I always come back to, my studio was such a safe space that was created for me, right? And I want to create that for our community. And when you do, and they realize that you're authentically caring about them, then they realize like they're a part of something. And I think you're right. We all want to be a part of something. And that's what the dance community brings. But from the top down, it has to feel like they are valued and that they're loved. And it's because they truly are, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them.
And I think that shows especially how you take care of the beginner dancers. Mm-hmm. You have the ambassadors and you make them feel so welcomed, because as a beginner dancer, it is terrifying, especially to maybe walk into a room where you probably don't know anybody.
Yes. They're my babies. I love my beginners. My beginners are like, I will advocate for beginner dancers. As an empath myself, I also I not only feel what they're feeling, but I remember vividly walking in at 16 and walking to a grown-up class with older people and, not knowing a thing. And you just have to fumble your way through. I didn't have a dance partner. I didn't have any Latin dance experience. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. This is scary. And I'll always remember that. And that's why I'm really glad that our ambassadors are now kind of emulating that same message of, we were there one day and look at us now. And also, we're here to help you get there faster. They're my heart, because it is so rewarding. It's rewarding anytime I teach. But for the beginners who really, in their head, because it was my thought too, I'm never going to get this. What am I doing here? Right? These thoughts come in. And by the end of 8 weeks, you prove to them that everything they've done in the last 7 weeks, by week 8, that they are actually putting everything together, and they've actually created something cool, fun, inspiring. And then they get the bug, and then they want to do it more and more and more. And they're like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. I need to sign up for the next one, which is always great. And sometimes they don't. But a lot of times they'll walk away with, that was cool, rather than that was really scary. And that's what we want, right? Dance may not be your journey, and that's okay. But at least you gave your body a chance to do something different. You've proved to your body that it can move in different ways that you're probably not used to. And you got out of the house for 8 weeks and probably didn't think about your phone or social media or the stress of your day for an hour a week. And if I could bring that to somebody, then good. I like that, I'm a happy camper after that. Yeah.
Can you talk about your body styling class and what it means and what it means for you?
My body styling class. Yeah, I've tried styling classes in the past, and I think it wasn't authentic enough to me. And that's why it always would get to a certain point, and then I would step away from it, or it would taper off. But inevitably people would say, like, how do I get this type of flow? How do I get this movement in the hips that you have, or this shoulder and that? And so I realized that body movement, so just the mechanics of moving your body, the range of moving your body, was more important than the actual styling that goes on top of it. So you really have to open up your frame, your like the range of your chest muscles, the range of your back muscles. You have to do those things first, mechanically and fundamentally, before any of the other fluidity can come in. And so I decided I'm going to rebrand it, Body Movement and Styling. I'm going to focus far more on that, on exercises that will open that range up. And then from there, layer on the styling. And that not only catapulted everyone else's experience, but it really opened up my own experience to dance, because I always shied away from body movement. Styling, I can do. But body movement, I didn't give it enough credit, because I thought, oh, you know what, it's not for me. It's scary. It's scary to open your body up and do things that may feel awkward at first. But once I started training and getting my body ready for it, to offer it to the students, I realized how freeing it felt, and how much I was like a euphoric feeling. Every time I would train, I felt like, wow, my body is doing some really cool things that I never thought it could do. And once I started bringing it in studio, the students felt the same. They would finish class and feel like, oh, wow, that was exactly what I needed. I had a really hard day. That, like, let the energy flow through. And they connected with the music. And that was the other difference too. I don't prioritize salsa bachata in that class. I play Afro beats, I play reggaeton, I play anything that touches our heart and our soul. And so you're now connecting your body to a song that you may not even recognize at first, but it's just the way your body's moving on top of the music that creates a synergy. And that class is now my most healing class. That class heals me. And I'm so glad that it also is healing the students who are taking that class too. Yeah.
I am a member of that class and I love it. It's like you said, you can't style things nicely if you just don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And if it's an awkward moment or awkward movement that you've never done before, then you have to stop, slow down, and go through the movement slowly and build up muscle and range of motion in order to eventually get it styling to look pretty. You can't start looking pretty.
No. And I think that was even my misconception. I was a trained ballroom dancer, and so I was told where to place my hands, how to place them, right? Not considering the fact that there were foundations behind that. And so, but then I would go to Congress and take body movement and styling classes and feel like a floppy fish, right? Like, so there was always a disconnect, and I could never put my finger on it until I realized exactly what was missing was the body movement part of it. Getting that range of motion, as you said, getting the muscles prepared. And I'm just really glad that you guys, the students, are trusting the process. Because again, I think that there's a misconception among intermediate level dancers, like, oh, well, if I just put my hand here, that's styling, it'll look good. Maybe, but if you put your hand here while activating the proper muscles and the muscle groups and understanding the chain of movement, then it's actually going to look amazing and impeccable, and you're going to feel it. And that it's the feeling that comes with it. It's the feeling that comes from, I know I'm moving things properly, and therefore the movement now means something to me, other than saying, I'm just going to put my hand here. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that's the biggest gift, is now you walk away as a dancer feeling more confident in your styling and in what you choose to do with your body as a styling function.
I like what you said about the euphoric feeling afterwards. Mm-hmm. And also you get that when you're dancing, when you finally achieve flow and like you just do something and it worked out.
Yeah.
After having it not work for months, as all of a sudden it's like, oh, I did it.
Yes. We talk about flow a lot and getting into a flow state. It's so important. And I was just recently listening to another podcast. And it was about dancers, social dancers, that the fact that we're advanced does not mean that we get to skip simplicity, because it's all about connection.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not connected to your partner, and if you don't, as a lead, if we're not looking toward making the connection a priority, and that part of that is getting into a flow state, then all you're really doing is just performing. And at that point, you're not connected. And if you're not connected, then the dance feels very different. So you want to have that flow state. You want to be in a state where your body relaxes and it eases into the song. Ev and I always talk about there's yourself, your dance partner, and the music. There are three people in your dance moment that you're having on the social scene, and you need to be connected to those three. And if you're not, then you're really just performing, or you've lost the connection and you're just executing moves at that point. So the euphoric feeling comes from simple movements, staying connected, and appreciating and staying in that flow state, which requires mindful presence.
This has been a really insightful conversation, and I think we've touched on a lot of different aspects of you and dance in general. Are there any other thoughts or things on your heart that you really feel called to share?
I think just an overall sense of gratitude for the life that I've been able to create here in Windsor. You know, I never lived away from my own family my entire life until I moved here. And then after separating from my ex, and then having to recreate an entire life and an entire ecosystem of friends and network and business relationships, it was so overwhelming. I took that journey on at the same time I opened the studio, and it was just really beautiful to see that not only was I creating a community, I was also receiving a community and building one up for me and my son. And to see everybody rally around the both of us in times of need, and help out whenever I've needed some support, that's really just been the greatest gift. I couldn't have even have dreamed of that happening, because I was so focused on creating a safe space for others. But at the same time, while that was happening, you guys were also giving and creating a safe home for us here in Windsor, which is why when people say, well, you know, your family's all the way back in the GTA, like, would you ever consider moving back there? And I said, no, here's my home. This is my home. This is where I've built my life here. Now I've put roots down. It's where Xavier, his whole network is here too. And so I'm always filled with gratitude when I think of my journey to Windsor, and then seeing what has been created and what's been given to myself and Xavier as a result.
Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or your dance studio, or even take dance lessons?
So see us on socials, Art of Dance Windsor. That's our Instagram and Facebook. You can always come to Show Studios in Walkerville, and our studio is located inside of Show. And at any social, you will find Art of Dance dancers and instructors. And so if you just say you're looking for AOD, then yeah, there is quite a few people that can point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in Windsor-Essex County area in Ontario, Canada, then you should know that I host an open mic live storytelling event the last Saturday of every month at Aloe Lounge on Erie Street in Little Italy from 5 to 7 p.m. If you don't know what open mic storytelling is, well, I encourage anyone to come up and share their story. We have different themes every month. The event celebrates connection, our humanness, our emotions, our rawness. It gives us space to really express ourselves and to have people listen, because I feel like we don't really get too much of this anymore. It is essentially a gathering of the souls and sharing a little part of ourselves with each other. whether it be a funny story, a sad story, a happy story, a romantic story, any story that is yours, you can share. And I'm loving the community that is coming from this event. So come to the event. I hope to see you there. You can purchase tickets at www.talesofthetown.ca.